Hello, I'm David Hughes. Welcome to part 6 of our series, Understanding Bhagavad-gita. Here's the URL where you can download Chapter 4, our subject for today's episode. Krishna begins the 4th chapter by revealing to Arjuna that he spoke Bhagavad-gita millions of years ago to the sun god, and that the sun god spoke it to his son, the first king of the earth planet. Thus, the science of Bhagavad-gita has been coming down by disciplic succession for millions of years. However, due to inevitable changes caused by the force of time, the disciplic succession appears to be lost. Thus, the Lord had to speak Bhagavad-gita again on the battlefield of Kurukshetra so that it remains current in human society. This means that Bhagavad-gita cannot be understood simply by reading books about it. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master situated in the disciplic lineage from Krishna himself. This transcendental knowledge is meant for the devotees of God. It's not meant for mundane religionists or philosophical speculators or the monists who consider that everyone and everything is God. It's meant for the devotees who want to worship God through love and devotion and by dedicating the fruits of their labor to His glory. So God knows everything, and He knows everyone. And He remembers everything that happened in the past, and He knows everything that's going to happen in the future. 5,000 years ago, He decided that the disciplic succession had been broken. So He descended in His original transcendental form as Krishna to speak this knowledge once again. He appears wherever and whenever there's a decline in religious principles to speak the transcendental absolute truth for the benefit of all living entities. The amazing thing about this truth is that just by knowing Krishna's transcendental appearance and activities, one can be released from the round of birth and death in the material world. One who even makes the attempt to understand Krishna is eligible to transfer to the spiritual world after this lifetime. He doesn't take birth again. And then Krishna says something very significant. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. In other words, if we regard God as an enemy, or if we regard Him as inevitable time or ultimate death, then we'll see Him that way. He'll respond to us in that way. And He'll treat us like an enemy because we treat Him like an enemy. But if we regard God as our eternal friend, as our benefactor, and as the giver of all rewards and benefits, especially in the afterlife, He will respond to us like that, as a friend and a helper. Although Krishna creates and maintains and directs the 3 modes of material nature and all the activities under those modes, He is not entangled by those modes because He's on the transcendental platform. Similarly, anyone who works for Krishna and tries to further His purposes with their work while here on earth is situated on the transcendental platform. There is no material work that affects God, nor does He become entangled in the actions and reactions of karma. Similarly, anyone who works according to Krishna's principles of karma yoga as given in the 3rd and 4th chapters of Bhagavad-gita is also not entangled by the reactions of their work. This is the secret to attaining freedom from karma. Then Krishna says something that's apparently contradictory. He says, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is in the transcendental position. What does this mean? It means that one who dedicates all his energy and work to the Lord, even though he's engaged in action, is actually situated in inaction because he doesn't accept the results of his activities for his own enjoyment. Therefore, the Lord relieves him of all the reactions to that action. So it's the same as doing nothing at all. Even though engaged in all sorts of activities, the devotee doesn't have to bear the karmic reactions for his work. However, some people think that just renouncing all action leads to liberation. This is a mistake, because as we pointed out earlier, even just sitting and breathing is material action if we do it for our own benefit, with the thought of maintaining our body or feeding ourselves and so on. Therefore, even if someone just sits and does nothing, if they're in material consciousness, that is action and they have to take karma for that. Whereas someone can be engaged in all kinds of activities, but if they do it for Krishna, that's the same as inaction because there's no reaction to their work. Another way to say this is that one is in full knowledge whose every act is devoid of the desire for sense gratification. We can't stop desire, but we can change the object of our desire from our own personal, selfish sense gratification to the transcendental pleasure of Krishna. And when we do that, then we become liberated because we're situated on the transcendental platform. This is the art of spiritual work, which takes deep study and actually requires the apprenticeship to a self-realized soul to understand. We studied with our guru for over 30 years before understanding this principle and becoming fully engaged in transcendental service. So it's not an easy thing, but it's a simple thing if we understand it with our hearts. In other words, we should love God and serve Him because He is the master in all circumstances. As soon as we do this, following God's instructions as given in the scriptures, especially Bhagavad-gita, then we're released from the actions and reactions of material nature because our consciousness is actually on the transcendental platform of love and devotion to God.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate